What's the vibes, FitBase? It's Coach Shay here, and I just want to start this conversation by saying you look absolutely great today. So, this conversation is for any one of you bays who are at the beginning of their weight loss journey. I'm hoping to send you a little motivation, inspiration, and some education as to why you may not see the numbers on the scale change in the direction that you wanted to, especially in the beginning of your weight loss journey. There are several factors that play into this, and I just want you to be informed so that you are not discouraged because, bays, you gotta keep going. Just because you don't see the numbers change on the scale is not an indication to stop. In fact, it is an indication to keep going. But of course, when we're relying on things like motivation, or even inspiration or dependency on the scale, it is easy to fall off of the bandwagon and just drop your routine completely. And I don't want you to do that because you're going to get to your goal. You're going to get to exactly where you want to be, but you need to persist. And so let this conversation really sit with you. Try to see which of the several points that we go over today, which one you might be experiencing in your weight loss journey. If you haven't experienced any of these things yet, again, you have been informed, so you know that these things may come up along your journey, but we're going to persist anyway. Okay, so let's go over several points that I have here. It's about 7, actually, so we're going to touch on each one. Okay, so first of all, I highly encourage that if you're looking to lose body fat, if you're looking to lose weight, specifically reduce body fat, that you are implementing strength training, moderate to high intense workouts at least 3 times a week. If you're going to the gym 3 times a week only, then that's fine. You're still going to strength train for all 3 days, and then you can add in a sprinkle of cardio 10 minutes after each one of those strength training. That way you have a nice balance between the two. The third thing that you want to make sure that you have in your training, which I talk about a lot in my videos, and which is not a common training or practice that people talk about, or even fitness instructors and personal trainers talk about a lot with their clients, but I want to make sure that you're informed that you absolutely should be doing some sort of mobility training. Mobility training is a great practice to implement at the beginning of your workouts. Many times I'll see people stretching in the gym. That could be a form of mobility training. It depends on what your stretches look like, but typically these are dynamic movements that goes through end range motions of the joints. So you don't want to passively stretch, you want to actively stretch. And as much as possible, you want to make sure that your joints, your limbs are moving in all 4 directions and is able to even move in diagonal directions as well, while incorporating movement. This keeps the joints and the tendons nice and limber, lubricated, and functional over time, especially as the body ages. So 10 minutes of mobility training, overstretching in the beginning of your workout is what I'd recommend, in addition to a 30 to 50-minute workout. And then you're going to finish that off with a 10-minute cardio sprint on the treadmill or walk up the stairs, walk up and down the stairs if it's an actual staircase, right? Spin, get on a bike, jump rope, jumping jacks, whatever. Okay. But your cardio will come after the strength training. But I want to make it very clear that the most effective and efficient way to lose weight is through strength training using compound movements. So that involves multi muscle groups. And then when you can add in dynamic movement, that is something that is also helpful as well, just like you see in some of the demonstrations being shown in this video here. So now that we're clear that strength training is the way to go, right? We want to add resistance to dynamic movement during our workout. When this happens, think about it. It's called strength training. So what's happening during strength training? Okay, muscle fibers are being broken down only to be repaired again and to come back larger. So if our muscles are getting larger, what do you think is bound to happen when you step on the scale? The numbers may go up. If anything, you might not see a change at all, but I just want to make you aware that a lot of times while your body is beginning to start to lose body fat because you're building lean muscle mass at the same time, that your muscle mass is going to show up on the scale as well. So this is not something to be disturbed about. If you see the numbers going up on the scale and you have begun a new workout regimen and then also made some changes to your nutrition habits. So don't be alarmed if you see the numbers start to go up. That's actually a good thing, okay? Body recomposition is the first thing that's going to start to happen. And this does not mean that you're not losing body fat. You are losing body fat, but you're also gaining muscle mass. And that's a beautiful, great, and positive thing. Okay? So don't be alarmed when you see that number going up just a tad bit. Okay? This shouldn't be more than a few, less than a pound. Okay? Obviously, I'm in the US, so we go by pounds here. In Europe, you'll go by kilograms or anywhere else, but at the same time, doesn't matter either way. It's going to be a small number, maybe a pound or two, and on average, we'll lose a pound or two when you actually start to see the numbers go down on the scale. Second thing to be mindful of at the beginning of your weight loss journey is that when you drink water after your strength training and while your muscles are repairing themselves, the muscles is actually going to retain some of that water. So there's water weight retention that happens. And actually, generally, when you step on the scale, the numbers can be deceiving if you do not have a body composition scale that shows you the breakdown of your skeletal mass, body fat, as well as water retention and muscle mass. Okay, these are the things that actually make up the number on the scale. So when you step on a scale, generally, you're going to get a total number unless you have a smart digital scale that's going to break down each one of these compositions for you. Okay, so water weight is going to show up in that number as well. This happens generally, even if you're not necessarily training. Okay, water adds weight. So you drink a lot of water throughout the day, and that is going to show up on the scale as well. Even if you're not necessarily drinking your water, you might be consuming it, right? So any type of foods that's nutrient dense, especially like carbs and fiber, the body stores extra water. Short-term water retention also happens when the muscles are repairing themselves, right? Because we're strength training so that we can lose a good amount of body fat. So the muscles need the water in order to repair themselves and in order to strengthen. So nothing to be alarmed about. Okay, so let's talk about positive stress, because there is a such thing as positive stress, and this can happen during a new workout routine. We put stress on the body by lifting weights, by breaking down muscle tissues and repairing them, right? So this is a positive thing that's happening that's going to lead to a positive change. However, there is a natural stress hormone that we have, y'all. So I'm not talking about the stress from work or from your family life or whatever else you have going on. I'm talking about cortisol, okay? So cortisol may temporarily rise because we're introducing something new to the body. So naturally, cortisol levels will increase, which may actually slow down fat loss, okay? The process of fat loss. And that's okay, because that's going to change as well. We just need to give our body a little bit of time to adapt. This is something new. So we want to be mindful that it could simply just be cortisol that is delaying the process of fat loss. And this is also short term. In fact, it's very short. Okay, this is not something that's going to last more than a month being 4 weeks, if that. Sometimes it's even shorter than that. But again, we want to continue to persist. We definitely should not be giving up our new routine or the new journey within a month's time, right? Remember, we've learned growing up, for the most part, that it takes 3 weeks to even introduce real change into habits and into our life, right? And the same thing for the body. So give yourself some grace and time, all right? Let your body adapt and do what it needs to do. All right. And then for my women, especially, I need y'all to be mindful that more than men, we have hormonal changes. So we definitely don't want to be dependent on the scale when we are on our cycle. Okay, we already know that weight can fluctuate. And y'all, weight can fluctuate anywhere between 3, 7, and for some even 10 pounds, okay, during our cycle in a month. Okay, so this does not mean that you're gaining fat though. Okay, this does not mean that you're gaining fat, and it doesn't mean that you cannot lose fat. It's just something to be mindful of, that when we're on our cycle, that we may see the number on the scale increase, or at times we might see the number stay stagnant because of hormonal imbalances. I actually still see the number increase on the scale during my cycle, and I can actually see it in the mirror. I don't even need to step on the scale, okay? I can feel it, and I can see it in the mirror. And I am very aware that my body is going to adapt and change again within a week, and it does. And I also can see that in the mirror. It's quite freaky, to be honest, but that's our bodies, y'all. Like, this is a thing. So this is education, right? We just want to be mindful that this is the thing that happens, because once we know, then we're like, all right, right? We already know next week we're going to be good. All right, so coming back to metabolism, because this is the process of actually burning fat. And this is really important because there's multiple things that affects our metabolism, y'all. So nutrition is super important. In the morning, you should be waking up and you should be hydrating with some lemon water or some coconut water, something to jumpstart your metabolism. This is an important factor of the fat burning process. We also want to be mindful of eating, right? We actually want to ensure that we are eating enough fuel and energy for our body to actually burn fat, because it's a process. It's the body's working, right? The body's doing the work to burn the fat, so we need to fuel it in order to do that. As I like to say, our bodies are our first vehicles, right? And so what happens when you drive in your car, right? You're burning gas. And what happens when your tank gets on E? It's time to refuel, right? So that it can continue to run and operate and function. But in order to run, operate, and function, the car needs to actually burn through the gas, right? And so it's the same thing that's happening inside of our body. We need to burn through the fuel, the energy, the food in order to even burn fat. So it's really important, especially for those of us who are doing diets, especially any type of diet that where you're decreasing the amount of food you're eating, like you're only just having one meal a day, which seems to be um, a trending diet now that I'm seeing a lot on YouTube. And yes, it is possible to be fueled by one meal per day, but as at a beginner level, that's not it, right? Unless you're training to be an athlete and you have a coach or a dietitian, that is not the way to go. You should not just be having one meal for the day. You want to fuel properly throughout the day so that your body can actually work to burn fat. Okay, so you should be having proper food. We want to be mindful about yo-yo diets, about doing some sort of diet and then opting in to going back to the way that we used to eat, or changing up our habits really quickly. The body can't get with that because it needs time to adapt. So we have to give it time to adapt to all of the new habits and the new changes in order to see results. So just keep that in mind. You absolutely need to fuel with food and with the right foods and nutrition in order to burn fat efficiently. Here's another tip that as it relates to metabolism. Y'all, you got to do better with your sleep. Okay? So a lot of the fat loss, a lot of the muscle recovery, and the changes that's happening with our bodies happens during the sleep period. So if you are up all night, also be mindful of that, because when we're up for a long period of time throughout the night, what happens? You get hungry again, right? Of course, because you're still burning calories. And so since you're burning calories, your body is going to ask for fuel again. So aside from that, we actually want to make sure that we're getting adequate sleep so that your body can properly burn fat, and then also so that it can recover properly so that you can go to your next workout and work out efficiently so that you continue with the process and build the momentum of burning fat. Okay? That's metabolism. We need to be mindful about our metabolism catching up and showing up on the scale properly by making sure that we're fueling our body with the right foods, by making sure that we're also fueling it with the right beverages, right? And that we're jump starting our metabolism as soon as possible, helping it to get to work right away. And then also that we're adding in quality and adequate rest for the body, okay? And since we were on the topic of food, I want to just say that we need to be mindful about nutrition awareness and then caloric deficit. So you might have heard this before, that you need to be in a caloric deficit in order to efficiently burn fat, and that is still very true. You need to consume lesser calories than you're burning, right? We want our body to burn the fat that's already in our body, so we want to be mindful about adding on new fat for the body to have to burn, or even aside from fat, sugars, right? And other calories. We want to be mindful about the calories that we're adding into our bodies so that it doesn't have to do more work than it's already set out for. So it's really important to not just think that you eat clean. We need to fuel the body with the proper sources in order for us to burn fat and build strength at the same time. So as you might have heard before, protein is very important in your diet, especially as it relates to repairing muscle tissues and earning muscle gain. Protein is important, so we should not be skipping protein. If anything, we should be consuming more protein. You might find other videos out there that says the opposite, but y'all, protein has more benefits than it does just for the muscles, okay? It keeps you fuller longer so that you're not eating multiple times throughout the day, again, adding more calories, which adds more work for the body to do and to burn through. Protein is satiating. It's nutrient dense. It's very important to have protein in your meals and in your diet. And then it's also important to stay in a caloric deficit so that the body doesn't have to do extra work to burn more fat. Okay, so don't just think you're eating clean and healthy. Actually make sure that you are fueling the body with the proper sources it needs to get to your desired result. And then here's my final tip, y'all, is that non-scale progress is still progress. Now that you've started your new routine and now that you've changed your nutrition habits, how do you feel? Do you feel stronger? Are you noticing that you're building up more stamina? How's your mood and energy levels? Right? Are you making better food choices and feeling good about that? Like, check in with the other things that is a part of the process of weight loss, because that is still progression. All of these things are still signs of progression, and weight loss, especially fat loss, actually lags behind these things. And because we get these signs early on, like when our clothes start to fit differently, even if you don't necessarily see the number on the scale change, in fact, taking actual measurements with measuring tape is a really effective way to see where you're losing fat from, right? So or where you're losing weight from. Okay, it's really important that we're counting our wins. Why? So that we don't have this defeatist mentality and then we end up stopping because motivation will wane, inspiration will wane. All of these things are feelings. And so we might feel really motivated and tapped in and we're ready to go, we're ready to work, and we want to keep going. We bought clothes to go to the gym, you got a trainer, X, Y, and Z. Guess what, y'all? You know how many clients I've experienced who have dropped out of the game a month in, 2 months in, 3 months in, and don't actually see true change. They don't actually get to their desired result first, not because the training is not working or the coaching isn't helping. It's because you're dropping out the game too early because you have way too many high expectations on a process that you don't fully understand. And this is why I felt it was important to make sure that you are educated on the process of what happens during weight loss. There's a multitude of things that your body is doing to help you to get to your desired result. And all you need to do is to persist. Keep going. Don't give up. When you're unsure, ask for help, right? Whether you are doing your own research, like I appreciate you watching this content. By the way, if you feel like you have been helped so far, go ahead and hit the thumbs up so that I know that this is content that has helped you and I can produce more that's like it. If you have specific questions, ask, right? Ask someone who knows, ask someone who's already at the place that you want to be, or leave a comment down in the description box. I'll be happy to answer questions, right? And just make sure that you're connecting first with a subject matter expert, or at least someone who is already at the destination of where you're trying to go, so that they can navigate you and let you know that you're on the right track and you need to keep going. Okay? As I like to remind everyone, fitness is a lifestyle. Stop just doing these things for a number on the scale. Don't just lose weight for this occasion. If you have a wedding or you're going on a cruise or your birthday's coming up, like, okay, but guess what? This is where the yo-yo effect comes in, is that we do something different for a little while, then we get to the destination, and then we revert back to our old ways, and we're back at it again. And then guess what? Another occasion is gonna come up, and you're gonna have to do this all over again. Why do that when you can just stay in shape? When you could just keep going? When you can actually persist through this challenge just to see what your actual potential is? How would you even know what your potential is in this journey if you don't persist through the process? And then if you don't go above and beyond the occasion or just the number on the scale. The number on the scale is not as important as ensuring that you are keeping visceral fat low, which is not the same as just having body fat. Okay, body fat is also a total sum. We want to keep visceral fat low. So that's the fat that's surrounding the organs, especially in our abdominal area, that when left unattended can cause ailments and diseases. That's important, right? So allow that to be the goal, is to not just live a long life, but to live a long, healthy life. Because who the hell wants to live a long, unhealthy life, right? If you can't function properly, right? If you're all stiff when you're in chronic pain, or you have a chronic disease, or even if you're overweight and obese, you're going to live like that all of your life without knowing the potential that you have to actually live a healthy, longevitous life, which you absolutely can do. So if you like this video, the tips in this video, if you want more or if you want more help, I need you to do a few things. I need you to like it. I need you to comment with your questions, even if it's just a comment to let me know that you've gotten something out of this and which gem that you've taken away today. And then also to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when I drop my next video, okay? Because if you ask a question and I answer it, I want to make sure that it gets to you. So make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace, bays. Have a great day.